Hey, good morning, everyone. I think we'll give a couple of seconds for everybody to join. By the way, the chat is open, so indeed, good morning, Bas. Feel free to say hi. You can also ask your questions during the webinar in this chat, and then in the end, we'll try to cover as many as we can. Can indeed everybody hear me okay and see me well? I think so. Perfect. All right. Well, then I guess we can get started already. Oh, so good morning, everyone. I'm Dave Bitter, and welcome to the webinar moving from basic autocomplete to AI-powered development workflows. So I'm very excited to share today what I've learned from already nearly 2 years of experimenting and building real projects using AI and AI assistants. So today we're gonna go beyond the basics that most of you have probably already tried, which for me, for a developer, will be using autocomplete or sending an error to ChatGPT and asking them, hey, what's going on? How can I fix this? And I really want to dive more into what are some workflows that you can develop where you really change the way that you program, that you build for people. So my goal is simple. By the end of this webinar, I want each and every one of you to walk away with something exciting to try in your development workflow that you maybe didn't think about before. Oh, my clicker doesn't work, so I'll do it manually. Um, so yeah, I want to share what's basically I discovered is possible with AI in development. So it's all my experiences, and also this isn't just a story about replacing human skills, but rather amplifying the skills that we have as developers. So over the past 2 years, I made my own journey as well. So right at the start, I was a bit skeptical. I asked it to build something for me. The output was not so good, and then I said AI isn't good. And I soon learned that there's way more to it. And I basically transformed from being a skeptical experimenter to someone who can honestly not imagine developing without AI assistance. But it wasn't always smooth sailing, so we'll also cover those parts. So I'm a front-end developer here at IO, and one of the things that I love most about working here is that sharing knowledge and trying new things out, being curious, are core values that we have in our company. And this passion of mine for experimenting and knowledge sharing has actually also led me to become, for instance, a Google developer expert for the web and get to travel the world talking about tech, which is my favorite thing to do, of course. But I also think that instead of endlessly arguing and discussing AI and what it might do or not do, I think it's better um, to just experiment, try stuff out, and see if it works or not. Um, so what I'm sharing today are basically my findings from 2 years of hands-on experimentation, building real projects, making real mistakes, and also discovering what actually works in practice and not just in a really nice blog post. So when I speak to many developers here, they usually tell me a bit of the same thing. So they're using, for instance, GitHub Copilot for auto-completing their code or generating simple code snippets, maybe chatting with ChatGPT for a syntax question. And that's really great. It's really good for that. And that's also where I started working with AI. But here's what I've discovered through my own journey. There's a massive gap, I feel, between this basic usage of AI in your development workflow and really taking the next step and using it for nearly everything. And we're going to cover a bunch of them today. And I also think that we need to use this more to also become those the top developers, those top engineers that can really deliver in the coming years as well, and not just right now. So early in my AI journey, I had the same fear I think many of you have or had. Am I losing my job or my core skills if I use AI? And will it ultimately make me perhaps a worse developer? But then, if you think about it, we used to write things like our own build tools for our projects. I think if you've been developing for, I don't know, over 5, 6 years, you know what I'm talking about. You really had to do everything yourself and understand how you bundle your website and optimize for performance. But now we hardly do that. We use abstractions, for instance, Webpack, Feed, or whatever, but they will handle all the complexity for us. Honestly, I don't remember the last time I really made a fully custom configuration for bundling my website because it just got that good. And it didn't make me a worse developer, but it freed me to, for instance, focus on immediately creating value, focusing on the user experience or the application logic instead of just spending weeks with build configuration. And that's also a bit how I look at AI. To me, it feels like this is simply a next layer of abstraction. And through my experimentation, I've also discovered that AI doesn't replace my expertise, but rather it amplifies it. And I also think that the developer who understands how to really leverage these new abstractions will effectively will have significant career advantages as well, because I already see the productivity gap becoming visible. So let's talk about where most developers are today. So based on my conversation with, I think, literally hundreds of developers on AI in the past years, I see a sort of clear pattern on how people adapt to AI and also where they are in their progression. And I cut it down to basically these 6 phases. So let me walk you through it. This is, by the way, also roughly the path that I took myself. Yeah, I could confirm it there. So these aren't just levels where one is better or worse than the other, but it's just a different approach based on the comfort that a developer has using these tools and also the context that is there. So I started in the discovery phase. Everything was new. I was really skeptical. I opened ChatGPT and I said, build me my complete new portfolio website. And that was my prompt, and that was years ago. And then I did get a website, but it didn't look so nice. And I didn't see the real value, basically saying, "Hey, this is not good enough. I'm better. Uh, we'll see if this happens." But then these AI tools started improving, and I moved to basically the adoption phase. So I used something like Copilot, and I could suddenly autocomplete, and it suddenly got really good and really quick. Um, but I still used it roughly as a sort of a better Stack Overflow. Um, then I moved on to integration, where it really got integrated into my daily regular workflow for building products. I used it for code generation, documentation, things like that. And then recently, the breakthrough, at least for me, was collaboration. So really working together with the AI, almost as if it's a person, um, and really having, for instance, architectural conversations with it instead of just saying, "Hey, build this." Really having a conversation back and forth. Then innovation followed, where I start experimenting. That's roughly where I am now, with maybe if I use multiple agents, can I create really custom prompts? Can I maybe build AI assisted tooling using AI that will then assist me in building more tooling with AI? So really taking that next step. And I believe finally there will be a point where you will go to mastery, where it's so deeply integrated into everything that you do, which is really exciting. Also, honestly, this field has been growing so fast that it's also really tricky to be a master of something that basically evolves every couple of months. So most of the devs that I spoke to are roughly in the adoption and integration phases. And today we're going to talk about getting to collaboration and beyond. So we're just going to focus on that because otherwise this webinar will last 2 hours, and I can definitely talk for 2 hours, but I think all of us also have work to do. So I should be able to do a quick poll in the chat, and I want to basically ask you uh, to answer the question: in which one of these phases are you currently? So we have discovery, adoption, integration, collaboration, innovation, and mastery. And don't worry about where you think you should be, but just be honest about, hey, what's my current usage? Where am I comfortable? Um, in these separate phases. And I should also be seeing the results right now. And I indeed see mostly in adoption, integration, collaboration. So roughly between those, between 2 and 4 there. Which is really good because that's why I also give this webinar. So luckily, not everybody here is in mastery and just listening to me for the fun of it. So that's really good. And let me go further. So here's where things get interesting. Let me show you what is actually possible when you move beyond basic autocomplete and basic usage during your development workflow. And this is not just theory, but these are specific breakthroughs that I actually went through myself and techniques that I learned to transform how I now work. And some of these might surprise you, at least I hope. So AI goes far beyond just code generation. It's sort of the comparison that you can make is that it's like using a smartphone just for calling, right? Maybe your grandparents do that, and you have this super amazingly advanced technology, and you use it for something just really simple. And there's so much more that you can use. And think about 6 months into my journey learning all of this, I had a breakthrough moment. So I was working on a rather complex project. And instead of just saying, hey, AI, write this code, build this feature, I sort of didn't trust that that would work out well based on the results that I had in the months prior. And I started just having conversations with it, just like I would with my colleague that's sitting next to me. So we discussed like, hey, I might want to build this feature. Let's have a chat about the architecture of it. Can we maybe do some research immediately? And it's really quick in that. What are some design decisions that we need to take? What are the upsides and the downsides about either of them? What do I find important? What does the AI find important? Finding a common ground. So really, how you work basically with a fellow developer on your project. But this did completely transform, yeah, the way I approach AI. So to see it way more as a colleague, and not just auto completing my code, but also teaching me things. So um, it might I don't know everything. I like to say that I do, but I don't. But having this basically this person that knows a lot and can fill the gaps where I'm missing was incredibly valuable. And it also made sure that, for instance, I was really convinced that we needed to do it one way, but then there were a bunch of alternatives that I didn't consider. And together, really quick, we could explore all of them and see if they're indeed better or not. Um, so let me break down what each of these workflow transformations look like in my journey. I have a couple of practical examples that I promised. So at the top, you might see a prompt that you give to your Copilot or your cursor or whatever you use. Build me a user auth system. Just that. Um, Early in my journey, I would do something like that and didn't really get the correct answers or the correct output that I wanted. So I started asking it something along the lines, that's just an example. Can you compare the trade-offs between next auth zero, rolling our own solution, maybe some other examples? Because I actually know all of these and I know roughly the up and downsides, but I want to go back and forth with the developer that has fully focused on me, of course. And this led to basically a 10-minute conversation where we explored a lot in 10 minutes. All these different ones, the up and downside. It started asking me about the context that it's going to be used in, how many users do we need to handle, how big is the development team, all these things that you want to consider. And in only 10 minutes, we went over all of them and we made the correct choice together. Um, that's amazing. I didn't just listen to the AI say, hey, what's the best one? Okay, I'm going to use that. But we actually went back and forth and we started arguing with each other, which you always want to do, right? That we do the same in development teams. And that's also where I realized that I wasn't necessarily losing my expertise by using AI, but I was actually becoming better. But because I was learning how to differently approach problems, and also often learning about new tools that I never heard of, which is of course always amazing. So yeah, different angles that I might have missed. In the end, the AI didn't make the decision for me, but it basically helped me understand the trade offs so I can make a more informed decision. So, in the research and planning phase, I also discovered that I could really become a research partner. So, not just, hey, should we build this or this, but really to go online, gather a bunch of information that I might need, getting the documentation of a tool that you use. So, if you, for instance, use React and Next.js, and right now there was a major shift in how we built with Next.js, you could spend a lot of hours reading that documentation, or you could basically ask the AI to look everything up, give it my expertise in Next because it doesn't need to cover the basics, and really make a custom tailored post that will learn me how to work with the latest version of Next, for instance. So really let it research online, and we can do all of this straight from the code editor, so I never have to leave, which is amazing. Um, so a different example of this is I was building an AI product that uses audio a lot. So it generates audio, it can do speech synthesis, and I don't know a lot about the audio API. It's a bit obscure. You don't really use it a lot, but it's in the web browser. It's amazing. It's been existing for many years. I can do a separate talk on that. Um, but I really needed there some help to make the best decision. I didn't want to learn that entire audio API, which can become really complex, just for this little bit that I needed it for. So it could help me map out basically the landscape of what was possible, what are the trade-offs, and identifying the specific questions I needed to research further. And of course, let then the AI research that. So what I found is that it compressed what could easily be a day of researching, trying stuff out. It compressed it into a 30-minute conversation that I could have, which is, of course, absolutely insane that we can do these things so quick and so well in a focused conversation now. And this works now in 2025, nearly 2026. This works a million times better than it did years ago. And it's got me really excited to see where we are heading to in the future. Also, what I realized is that my research skills are not necessarily deteriorating. It's a difficult word, but rather accelerating. So I would still do the research, but just quicker, and I could get way more info in, which is really nice. So I started also asking better questions and getting better answers faster. So that's fine. So we research all of that. We know what we want to build, and then it comes to actual development. And of course, we could start writing code ourselves and relying on the smart autocomplete. But of course, it's also really nice to use AI to really write code. And this doesn't need to be this new feature, because by all means, if you want to build that new feature and that's what you love to do, build it. But I can guarantee I should have another poll basically in this webinar. If I ask who enjoys the major refactor sessions, because a library has a breaking change, or we have a different code pattern that we now need to do in thousands of files, it's usually very quiet because nobody wants to do that. Um, so that's, for instance, these refactoring sessions. It's amazing to just let an AI agent do it, but uh, keep checking it and pointing it to the right direction. But it doesn't just need to be rerouting code. You can also have it look at your current architecture, of course, of your project, really having that context in there, making sense of how that might work, exploring alternatives. Um, and there are a couple of examples. So, for instance, for debugging, you could say, hey, I have an error, I copy paste it, and you say, fix this error. This is what I see a lot because it's really tempting, right? You get an error, throw it at AI, magically everything works again. It's not always the case, but what I would love for you to do is basically shift from, okay, there's an issue, go and throw it to AI and I expect magic, is to really start working together with the AI. So not this single shot approach saying, hey, error, fix it, but really using it as that senior developer that is available 24/7. They are never in a call. They are never sick. They're always there. But to not just say, hey, senior developer, fix this, but say, hey, can we work together on looking at this? Um, it helped me surprisingly also in some other skills because I really need to clearly articulate the problem, what direction I think we should go, what it could be, some context like, oh, yeah, but a year ago we had a similar issue and we did this in another system. So to really provide that context and then go back and forth researching it together. So tonight, maybe you could try this yourself at home or even during the workday. Take a piece of code that you've written recently, and you know there needs to be a fix in there. To not just say, "Hey, fix this," but to actually try to have this conversation back and forth to discuss, like, "Hey, how might we improve this?" I know if you, for instance, use a code editor like Cursor, you can go into plan mode or chat mode. So to really go out of the uh, um, not just really try to immediately fix it, but really try to discuss it and have a conversation. It's really interesting once you start doing this, and I think we should do this way more. Then my biggest realization, I hinted to it at the previous slide, but I often feel like we are maybe using AI backwards. We used to build really cool features. Yeah, that's the part we actually enjoy. I think when everybody was studying for this field and went to school, nobody said, "Oh, I'd love to spend the rest of my life refactoring TypeScript." That's not the part that we love to do. What we do love to do is creating these really useful features, building these cool things. Um, what I noticed is the parts that we don't really like. For instance, writing all the really comprehensive documentation for your project, which you know you should. Um, and maybe once in a while you really take a few hours for it, but then it becomes outdated and you have more important things to do. Um, Generally stuff we don't like to do. Maybe writing unit tests. I know there are a few people, I also think also in this call, that love to write unit tests, but really covering every edge case or getting that really legacy function that nobody dares to touch. And we know it needs to be refactored. We roughly know how, but it's like, I don't want to focus on that. But even maybe just writing clear commit messages. I think we all have repositories when we look to the Git tree, we see commit messages fix button alignment. And it's like, yeah, but what was the actual fix? What was the issue? And writing all of this content is not something we have time for or honestly want to do. And what I realized is that AI is amazing for all these things that we don't want to do, but we use it for all these things that we do want to do, which is building these features. Um, so these repetitive tasks basically drain our energy, and I see, and I never really have to do them manually anymore because as you can see that AI can handle them in seconds, right? So your cursor can easily see what are the changed files. It can even go through your Git history. It can write a clear commit message. Then after your branch is done, it can grab all those clear commit messages and then move it into a pull request description in a matter of seconds. Also with, of course, writing the README files and the test cases and whatnot. And then suddenly, what I noticed is, yeah, I had way more time and energy for creative problem solving and building actual value and doing the things that I actually love. Um, so this was a real big breakthrough moment for me. That it's AI is not sorry, AI is not just about making me faster at coding, but it's basically freeing me from all that grind work so I can focus on something that actually matters. And that's sort of what I have in my head every time I think, this is a bit of grind work. Could maybe AI do this for me? And I honestly believe that the developers who master this will become those best in class developers that always make a pull request with tests, with the refactors, the Boy Scout rules, having the comprehensive test coverage. But also having pristine documentation and basically being that colleague that you really want to have in your team. And I think it has never been easier to be that person. So another shift that I really saw is not just asking AI for answers and not just saying like, "Oh, let's argue," but is to actually use AI as a teacher, a personal teacher, and this is really cool. So when you have a real teacher and you have a problem, they don't just give you the answer because that's not how you learn. And what I saw that we could do, and seen this for other people that are learning a new framework that they haven't, and it doesn't matter how much experience you have, but there's also always something that you need to learn that you've never worked with. What you can do is basically tell this AI in your project, saying, "Hey, I'm a front end developer with, I don't know, 5 years of experience. I'm comfortable with React, but I'm really new to TypeScript. And I want you to I want to understand how generics work because I keep seeing something about that in the code base. Don't fix it for me. Don't give me a solution. Teach me." And then it can basically take you step by step, even in your existing repository within your context, to really explain it. You can maybe write a bit of code. Ask it like, "Hey, did I do it right?" It can give you suggestions. So this is really cool. You basically create a personal teacher for you that is really focused on your level, on what you're doing in your code base. And then if you really think back on all these online courses, almost every time it's building a to-do app or something generic. But now you can actually do it within the context of where you work at, which is of course amazing. And this sort of hyper personalization is what's really exciting. So basically, not just getting solutions, but also again becoming a better developer. Don't let it just do it for you. Let it teach you, so you know how to do it. Doesn't mean that the rest of the time you will always write it yourself, but at least you understand what is happening, which is the most important thing, of course. Um, I also talked a bit about the bug earlier. And this is also, well, I wouldn't say fun because bugs are never fun. I had one yesterday morning at 8:30 in the morning, and that's not the best way to start your day. But again, what we can do is throw all these error messages at the AI and say, "Hey, fix this," and then walk away and have a coffee. But really make AI your debugging partner. You both investigate what is going on. You can describe the problem, of course, share maybe what you already tried, also what you really know is not the issue. It's always dangerous, especially during debugging, making assumptions. But really say, "Hey, this is what I already tried. This is where I think the issue is," and then say, "So what questions should I ask you? What should I check first? What are likely causes?" So really fire questions at the AI, but also ask it to ask questions back. Um, and then AI basically helps me develop a systematic debugging strategy rather than just patching the symptoms. Because you also know, like if you throw AI or any developer, honestly, at a bug, they might find a solution, but that's not the solution. It's a patch, right? And yes, it might work, but isn't there a underlying issue, a bigger issue that we need to tackle? And those are some really good questions, of course. And this taught me really even more to think like a detective, following the clues that you see in your code base, making hypotheses, and then also testing assumptions that I might have. And this made me dramatically better at debugging. Quicker, yes, but also better, because I'm also learning the thinking process that I should have to get to this answer, and not just, oh, I need a quick fix all the time. So because we can save some time by properly investigating it. And now when I encounter similar issues later, I have sort of a mental framework like, oh, this is how we previously got to the answer, and now I can also solve them independently, or I can help my colleague that sits next to me with their bug. So, using AI to stress test your architectural decisions is really fun. I basically use AI before I commit to any big decisions. So, previously, I shared an example about an authentication system, something really big. And once you build it, it's really tricky to change it. So, you want to have a proper plan. So, what I try to do is get AI to be more of like a senior architect that reviews what I'm about to do, and give me feedback on it. So what I might say is, hey, I want to build this gigantic feature. This is what I find important, and this is how I'm going to solve it. And then ask it, what am I not considering? What am I overlooking? Or how would this scale? Because I know we are growing rapidly and this needs to serve millions of users. What are some alternatives that I should maybe explore? And it will then review, of course, your plans, point out maybe edge cases, scalability concerns, maintenance issues that you might miss. So it's not making the big decision for me, but it's helping me thinking more comprehensively about it and being more informed about my choices. So that's all the happy flow. Everything works, AI works, but it's not always, of course, the case. And I think every time we talk about AI, we need to be balanced in the information that we share. So she showed some powerful ways you can work, and hopefully inspired you to try it out. But maybe let me also share some of the failures that I've experienced. So maybe you can avoid them, or you can also have them, and learn from them. Because even with all these amazing capabilities, things can naturally go wrong. So let me start with a really big failure that I had, and I call it the magic prompt trap. And that's basically spending 20 minutes crafting the perfect prompt for what I want to do, and then tweaking every word and adding more context and trying to anticipate every edge case and really building this magical prompt. And then in the meanwhile, I looked at the output, and it was great. It was exactly what I wanted, but I knew I wanted that, and I could probably have written that in a couple of minutes. Where it's like, oh, I immediately grab into this AI tool that I might not have to because I can also do it myself. And then, especially spending so much time writing a prompt instead of just the code. Um, Also, what I realized is we shouldn't have these perfect prompts all the time. Um, what I learned is that it's better to have just a good enough prompt, and then you get a good enough result if you just fire it away. But what I think is important is to not have this one prompt, one solution, but to really iteratively go through building a feature or fixing a bug, and also to sort of don't let perfectionism kill your productivity. Really striving for that perfect prompt or that perfect solution. Sometimes it's also a matter of just doing it, seeing what it comes up with, and then iteratively working over it. What is also really fun is uh, an AI tool can go down. And this was really interesting. And we start seeing these situations now in the past years where maybe there's some configuration wrong, some server is shortly down. And then it's like, oh, yeah, what do I do now? Because I'm so used to doing everything with AI nowadays. Um, because you start reaching for AI for every small task, even the ones you can easily do yourself. I've also asked AI to write simple loops or explain really basic concepts that I already actually knew. And I don't think the danger isn't just dependency on it, but it's that you stop exercising your sort of fundamental problem solving skills. And I learned to sort of maintain that balance, where you use AI strategically for complex problems and tedious tasks, but don't let it sort of let atrophy get into your core development skills. AI should really amplify your abilities and not replace them. So I think, as always, it's not this or this, it's probably somewhere in the middle. So here's probably one of the most important failure patterns that I see, and that's why I also mentioned it through my examples a couple of times. And it's sort of the one-shot trap, right? You give it one shot, and if it's not good enough, AI is not good. And I don't think that this is the way we are intended to work with it. If I Let's say I have a colleague sitting here, and we need to build a new art system, and I tell them build a new art system. I don't know if I'm going to get the result that I want to. But we never do that, right? We discuss, we iteratively go through it while the developer is working. We might chat, we evaluate. So this iterative process is incredibly important to work on to get the best results. So what you can also do is once it's done, because that's the same with the developer sitting next to you. Hey, it's done. You're going to ask follow-up questions. Oh, did you also think about this? And did you also think about this edge case? And could you maybe explain that part? And then the colleague could be say, well, yeah, now you mention it, maybe we should do something better with logging. Okay, yeah, I'm going to work on it. And this iterative approach is, I think, something that we really need to focus on and not just treat this as a magic box that will immediately do everything perfectly. I think the magic happens when you go back and forth, and that's true with human to human, and I also think that's true human to AI. And some of the best solutions that I built using AI were came from sort of 5, 6 exchanges where we go back and forth, really refining the approach. In my opinion, AI is not just a vending machine where you input a prompt and get perfect output, but it's a collaborative partner that gets better with each iteration that you go through together. Then another big one that I see is quality blindness. And that's basically getting so impressed by these amazing AI models that you don't really evaluate it. You might quickly scan a pull request with the code that the AI written, but it's easy to sort of really trust this in the end computer that they made the right choice. And I've done the exact same. Looked at a pull request, thought, oh yeah, this looks really cool, really impressive, it follows everything we need, it fixes the bug. Then I merge it, and then later, oh, there's a small issue. Oh yeah, I could have caught that if I really critically looked at the pull request. Um, because there is something about AI producing a working solution that makes us basically think, it must be good. It works. It solves our issues. Um, but also, working code isn't necessarily good code, right? There are a million ways to solve an issue. And often in the pull request, it's not just about will it work, but it's also about making it better, splitting it more out, having some insight like, hey, we're going to need this more, maybe split it out to a reusable bit or whatnot. So I think it should have the same scrutiny as any code review that we do. Check for security issues, performance problems, maintainability concerns. So yeah, this also highlighted for me to be more systematic about evaluating the pull request and not just accepting it because I think the AI was doing a really good job. So these are some points. Feel free to make a screenshot, but these are a couple of examples that is always good to, in general, when you are reviewing code, but especially when you see this impressive AI code. So we look at, for instance, functionality. Does it solve the actual problem that we had? Security, did it, in its attempt to make a super nice solution, forgot about a bit of security? Are there any bottlenecks or inefficiencies that cause performance issues? Is it in general maintainable? AI can write code in seconds, but that's not how I want it. Maybe we need to split it out more, or what are the standards? But also accessibility, super important thing. Did it think about that? Did it think about keyboard navigation, or just about building that form because you just said you wanted the form and not and didn't mention accessibility, for instance? So by going over the AI code, looking at things like this, I was able to cut numerous issues that otherwise could become problems later. And also, maybe ironically, my code review skills also improved dramatically by really looking into this, because I sort of build in a slight maybe distrust in that the code that is produced is amazing. So I've talked a lot. You heard basically my journey and what I'm trying out, and the way rather I work with AI, and basically how I have an AI powered development workflow, really getting it in there. You see what's sort of possible, and let's also get a bit more practical, because I think it's important that you try this yourself. So I'm going to give some specific actions that you can do this week or next week, doesn't matter, to start really transforming the way you work. So not big, overwhelming commitments, but just some fun experiments that you can do even today during work. So previously I mentioned, um, for instance, having an architectural discussion with AI about your current project. That could be about anything: the way you do testing, the setup of the APIs, or whatnot. Um, to really go into this back and forth conversation, ask about issues, suggest improvements, things like that. Then maybe later this week, you can use AI to review some of the code that you've written. So not just generate it, but really say, hey, go through the Git history of my current branch, review all the code, and give me feedback, basically. And then, of course, work together to resolve it. Maybe Friday or somewhere next week, when you hit a bug, don't be tempted to say, "Hey, AI, fix this," but really ask it to be to develop sort of a debugging strategy together to find the actual issue, and to really work together like that, and not just get an answer that might or not be the actual thing that you need to do. These are some experiments that I did myself, and it really transformed the way I work. And I also think, yeah, the way you accelerate your skills, and in the end also your career and your impact that you have on an organization. So some takeaways for those that are maybe looking at this and are ready for some more advanced approaches. Let me also quickly share how I evolved to use really specialized tool workflows, because it's not just one AI that does everything. There are so many. Everything is AI nowadays, but combining them is also really good. So if you just have an example, I use Cursor, and even if I just use one model, I can put it into different modes, for instance. So a plan mode where we make a plan, or a chat where we just chat, or an actual agent mode where it starts developing. But also trying these different models, because they're all better in the one thing or the other thing. So to really have a look at that and see, can I use this AI model for this specific task to plan, but then maybe this model because it needs to write code and it's better at doing this. And really combining a bunch of these tools, and even, for instance, the chat GPT to help you creating a prompt or whatever it could be. I think that's really nice to try out. Um, and then if we look a bit ahead, I don't have the answer, otherwise it would probably be very rich. But I feel like we're moving more uh, toward AI that better understands sort of the entire code bases. So we see these context windows grow. It gets better and better and better. Um, Also, more AI specialized in really different development tasks. You see that already in a Cursor IDE, where you can already see that they sort of make these areas that you can turn it into, like planning or chatting. And also more and more deeper integration into our development tools. Um, but what I did realize that the fundamentals matter more than ever, because I don't think it's just about fully relying on it and having these tools become really good. But I think you, with your strong technical fundamental, sort of your basis, and then strategically using AI to come to the best solution, is the best way of working with this. But you need to have those fundamentals. You need to understand what happens. And then you can use AI to amplify your existing skills, but not just completely replace you and what you do. Maybe we'll end up there one day. We'll have to see. But at least currently, this is how I look at it. And I also think, yeah, my expertise doesn't diminish through AI usage. but it's more refined and it accelerates basically uh, my approach more. If you're listening to this and you think, "Oh, this is amazing because I focus a lot on this," or "Oh, I haven't so much," or "My team isn't really focusing as much as they maybe should on this," um, that's fine because every team is slightly different. You have really skeptical people, you have people that do everything with AI, and somewhere in between. Um, Try to have a chat within your team because you're probably not the only person experimenting with these tools, or maybe you are and you want to get the other ones on board as well. And what I, from my experience, helping teams adopt these tools, this is basically what works. Never mandate these AI tools because if you force it, people become more skeptical. But start with the curious people that want to try this out, and the success stories will spread organically, of course, and they will see their colleague delivering great value quicker and better. So you want to try that out as well, but also to really establish some shared quality standards from day one. So also there's tooling for this. I'm going to write an article about it somewhere next week where you can sort of standardize the way AI writes, because every developer's IDE might do it then slightly different. So how do you mandate that? Basically, how do we ensure that we use the same code? We've used linting for ages, and there are similar things now for these AI tooling. Um, there will always be somebody that's going to say, "Yeah, this will just make them lazy and just throw everything in there, and our code base will be worse." I think you need to address this concern head on. Well, maybe Stack Overflow. Yeah, it's a good example. Maybe Stack Overflow made us a bit more lazy. I think a lot of us remember the time where you found the bug, then you went to Stack Overflow, you saw which was upvoted, you copied and pasted the solution, it worked, and then made a commit. A bit lazy. That's not how you want to work, and it's the same with AI. And I think we shouldn't avoid these tools like AI, but just use them thoughtfully and knowing what you're using to do what. Um, AI assistants, I think, can also just be a next evolution of collaborative development tools and the way we work together. And I think the teams that really look at this now will have really a competitive advantage over the ones that don't. So let me leave you with this clear roadmap based on this, my journey. First, try to see and honestly assess which phase you are in that we looked at. And all of these slides will be sent, of course, so you can look back at it. So not where you think you should be, but where are you actually? Because I also spent months thinking I was way more advanced than I actually was. Then secondly, pick one specific workflow area that you want to try this out and enhance it with AI this month and really focus on it. Then third, shift from asking AI to generate just code to having more of this conversational, iterative approach, because that has helped me the most. Um, Fourth, never stop critically evaluating AI output. It's really important. It gets more impressive every month, but it's really important to really evaluate what is happening. Um, Finally, do what I do right now, and that is sharing all your experiments and what works and what doesn't work. Share it with people because these are my experiences. And I think if we have some people in this call that do a similar presentation, they will have wildly different experiences. But I think it's good to share this, and maybe perhaps we can teach each other a thing or two and come together and find basically the best way of that this big major change that has been going on for the past months or years rather. Awesome. I think I'm still have some time. I do. Um, the Q&A is always open, of course. There is a chat, and I've asked my colleague to keep an eye on this. I also see questions neatly there. Um, can AI replace SAST, static code analysis tool, like SonarCube? or does it maybe become even more important to use a tool like that? I think indeed you give a really good answer to your own question. Um, Definitely. Yeah. Previously, I also talked about, hey, we enforce some rules within our repositories and the way that we build, and we do that because we work with people, and people can make mistakes. Everybody does it slightly different. Um, and having actually these tools in there are really important. But also, of course, that's just a static code analysis. But I think it's also important to really have this proper monitoring in there, because maybe you created this really nice big AI feature, and then you um, deploy it. You of course need to know that it is indeed the fix, and that's the same as if the AI has written it, or a person. So I think we can leverage most of the tools that we already use. Because we use them basically for people as well. And if we just see AI as this colleague that also needs to be checked, and the output is also needs to be monitored, I think that's the best way of approaching it. Awesome. And I don't see a question anymore, which is absolutely fine. Um, because if you want to go over everything that I've talked about and a bit more with actual examples in there as well, I've written, well, it takes you 45 minutes to read. So it's a big article, but it's on our Tech Hub, where we basically go over this story and more, because I had to, of course, shorten it a bit for this session. Um, I would also love for you to connect with me on maybe LinkedIn, because I regularly share articles and findings there, which is really fun. And honestly, if you experiment somewhere in the coming weeks, send me how you post it on LinkedIn and share it with the world. Uh, Send your findings. What did you get out of your experiment? Um, so with that, I want to leave you and wish all of you a really good Thursday. And until next time, thanks.